TGR.
Hey everybody, welcome to our inaugural episode of TGR's Classy Classics.
Ooh, baby.
I'm Sean, this is Rudy,
Yo.
that's Onix.
Hello.
And today,
Hello.
we are going to be talking about some very amazing video games.
Yes.
We are going to be inducting 3 video games into our Classy Classics.
Super classic.
Ooh, baby.
This is kind of like a games of all time. This is like GOATs.
Yeah.
But these are classy classics. So the way this is going to work is each of us are bringing 3 games to the table.
Three.
We may not actually talk about all 3.
Sunday.
We're going to talk about one at a time, one from each of us. Then we're going to go back through and do a second game from each of us. Each person gets a few minutes to monologue about the game of their choice. The other 2 are not allowed to say anything. Then, once both games from each person have been revealed, the other 2 get to debate about which of those other person's 2 games is going to get in. And the other person has to not say anything and just watch it all unfold.
Yikes.
If it cannot be decided unanimously which of the 2 games gets in, then the other person gets to bring forward their 3rd game, which is going to get in. Guaranteed at that point. And they will talk about it. The other 2 get to talk about it nicely because these are classy classics.
Oh, yeah.
Politely, sir.
And
Politely.
and that's it. That's how we're going to do this. You may have seen some other channels do something similar. I swear I had this idea first 2 or 3 years ago before somebody else. All the grades did it before. Anyway, so this is the classy classic.
The classy classic, baby.
Which is so much
Pretty
better.
dang classy. Oh, yeah.
So who would like to go first and share their first game?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Rudy,
no,
no. Wait a second.
The first classy classic nominee.
Oh, man.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Okay, all right.
You're having a
all
hard
right.
time choosing stuff.
Dude, I have like a list of like 7 or 8 games that I've been trying to like narrow down. But one of the first games that popped up immediately was A Link to the Past. It is by far one of my favorite games that came out on the SNES. And it has everything. One of the best things is that everything that you get, all the gadgets, all the equipment that you get throughout the entire game is usable throughout the world. Something that before Breath of the Wild, some of the Legend of Zelda games had issues with. But on top of that, there's very little, issues with pacing. That sometimes like it was between that and Ocarina of Time for me. And this guy is like all about Majora's Mask and everything. But with Ocarina of Time, something that I felt, and I know this is going to be a hot take, like 110%. One thing that I felt was that Ocarina of Time, there was these moments where you kind of just were in the middle of a field and you were heading towards the direction and you were just staring at Epona going continuously. You never got that with A Link to the Past. There was always continuous gameplay, and not to mention that the dungeons were fantastic. The puzzling was amazing. It was kind of like the first of its kind where there was an emphasis on just an overall backstory and like having the light and the dark and like just going nuts with that. Because I mean, as a kid, I'm like, okay, all right, I've got the 3 pendants, I'm ready for the Master Sword, let's go, kick the wizard's butt. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's this whole dark world. You're a rabbit of all things, and boom. So I don't know, I could keep on going, but I don't know, I'll just shut up now. You guys go ahead.
All right, so The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
First
I think
nominee.
a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, I love Link to the Past.
And then
Okay,
a lot of people are like, well, I won't say anything. I'll be quiet.
Well, when we're not talking about it now either. Now we're
Okay.
talking about the next nominee.
Okay.
Next nominee. So I guess it's me.
Yeah,
All
go for
eyes
it.
on me.
Go for it, bro.
This one was hard, but I'm going to go with a more modern game.
Oh, I know.
Do you now, sir?
I can't say
Well,
anything.
yep, we're
Nier Automata. Listen, boys. When this game came out, we talked about how this was Game of the Year, right? It was a Game of the Year nominee. It was TGR's Game of the Year 2017. And I'll never forget that ride of, hey, this game is getting some really good reviews. People are talking about it. There's some positive word. I got it on sale for $40. I forget where, but I bought it, played it, and I got done with the first route. And I'm like, guys, you kind of gotta get this game. And then I did Route B, and I'm like, guys, you kind of gotta get this game. By Route C, I was like, okay, seriously, what the hell, guys? Get the game. So, yeah, it is a game that... Hold on. I'm going to pull up my list here, boys, for you listening at home. It is the newest of the bunch. Obviously, I did say it's a more modern game. The existentialism, the depth that is hidden away with all the references. Why are you laughing? The mentions of poets, philosophers, the naming of those references was incredible. Yoko Taro, as an individual, had a very specific desire to tell a very specific story. One that, again, it's about existentialism and what you can do with what life has given you. 9S and 2B are some incredibly tragic characters that, besides all that happens at the end of the story, there is a positive outcome to it all, right? Despite of how bad it was. And I will never, ever, 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 ever get over the end credit scene. That to this day still hits me on an emotional and personal level. So for a game to do that, like recently, in the last 2 years, and for me to look back at the best games I've all played in my life, and for it to still stick out, yeah, I got it. It's got to go in.
All right, congratulations, Nier Automata. For a nomination for the Classy Classic.
Classy Classic,
I
baby.
never saw it coming.
Bet you did.
Okay, well, I guess I got to throw out my first game. So I want everybody to think back to a time before the internet.
Oh.
Before people had access to a lot of really good fantasy stories. Because at the time I'm about to talk about, especially in the gaming industry, many of it just did not exist.
Right, sure. Yeah.
So I would like to nominate a game that is not the best in its franchise, but the industry owes a lot to this first game. Final Fantasy. Numero uno. So Final Fantasy released stateside and pretty much everywhere on the NES. And in it you have members, 4-party members. They're customizable from the get-go. You can pick between, I think, 6 different kinds, and you can mix and match them. You could have 4 white mages if you want. And so there was a lot of customization there. Massive world. Nobuo Uematsu's fantastic music, great graphics. The game itself came with this entire fold-out of essentially a bestiary for the game, and it shows you the HP, and it shows you the items that you'll get, and the experience you'll get, and the gold that you get from defeating each of these monsters. And you're on this quest to stop chaos, this time-traveling quest to stop chaos from destroying the world as one of the 4 warriors of light. And, you know, the story is okay. The gameplay by modern standards is okay. The music's still great. But a lot of what we have today would have developed so much differently had Final Fantasy not come out when it did. And I think the legacy of that game actually being the creator's Final Fantasy at making a game, that was his last shot at it, and the success that came about from it, I think, is a really great story. It's just an all-around fun game to play, and it does hold a special place in my heart because I did play it back in elementary school on the NES, and I recall kids being like, "Oh man, you should come over. I've got this black mage, and I'm fighting this ogre," and I'm like, "Nerd!" And I get over there, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm buying this game as soon as my parents give me some money." So, Final Fantasy. Oh yeah. Which is right there in the menu.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Okay.
Very well done.
All right. So that was round 1. Now we go to round 2. So let's get out our second nominees. Are you ready, Rudy?
No, not really, because now I'm kind of like I had like an idea of like where I wanted to go with it, but I'm just gonna go ahead and stick to what I originally had planned. My next nominee is Dark Souls.
Oh. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I have played a lot of RPGs. I have played a lot of action games. I have played just a lot of games in general. But I have never fallen in love with the world the same way that I've fallen in love with the world in Dark Souls. Like, the gameplay obviously is amazing. Not to mention that the music, or lack thereof in certain areas, is amazing. And there's just like this story, this overarching story that if you don't look for it, you're not gonna find it. And it's just enough details to where you can kind of like piece things together. And hopefully we see this with Sekiro and future games from Software. But there was this community that came with the game that like everybody was kind of like trying to figure things out on their own and like working together to kind of like be like, okay, well, I did this with this boss, or I did that with that. These are what these covenants do, and blah, 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 blah. And, it was the first experience for me where there was a community, and like we put in like hundreds and hundreds of hours. I went to New Game Plus, I think. Like I loved that game, and I knew everything that happened in that world. And not to mention the level design was just ridiculously well done. I mean, come on, like, dude, I'm just like, but anyways, yes, that is my next nomination.
All right,
I'm there with you, man.
Yep, no comment.
Just right there with you.
Right,
That's all I'm
classic,
saying.
classic.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
All right, Onix, your second nominee. What you got?
So this is actually tough because putting a third one away is hard. But I'm going to do it because deep down in the bowels of my heart. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty.
Really?
I earlier, before we started, I told him he was going to be surprised. I thought about this for a long time. I love Metal Gear Solid 3.
I'm sorry.
For a long time, I said that MGS3 was my favorite game of all time. But in recent times and the way that we as society are going, I've been really reflective of things. And Sons of Liberty is, in my opinion, Kojima's magnum opus. From a game perspective, gameplay, exceptional. Tons of replayability and precision in the combat. The story was truly, truly, truly ahead of the time, and that's where I'm latching onto. There's a 10, 15-minute segment where one of the main characters is talking to an AI that you didn't know was an AI, and it starts talking to him about how society is going to become this cesspool of false information and memes and all this stuff. Literally says memes in a different connotation. Memes meant something different in 2001. And you look at that now and it's like, holy crap, we are living in that. Kojima had a vision that he shared in his game, and it became a reality. To have that forward thinking in a video game from 2001, like, it just blows my mind to think, damn, that is just, it's a masterpiece. So that's why I think this game will stand the test of time, and people will talk about it generations later. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty.
All right.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see that
Didn't
coming.
see that one coming.
Okay, so for my second nominee, also staying a little retro here, and I'm going with a pick that I think when we talk about classics is definitely not one of the first that come to mind, but I have always stuck by this game. Especially in my early years, I considered this to be my favorite game of all time. And I'm not just saying this because it has a new game in the franchise coming out very soon. I would like to nominate Toe Jam and Earl for the Sega Genesis. Toe Jam and Earl, if you have not played this game, easily one of the best games of all time and very deserving of being a classic. It's got this funkiness to it that you will not find in any other game out there. Its soundtrack is just bonkers with all the bass and just the funk and just the style of the music. The game is, it's like Borderlands comedy and humor when it was cool and funny. It's basically all the enemies are kind of like just dad jokes. Case in point, there's an enemy called the Nerd Herd, and it's just a bunch of nerds running at you, and they can trample over you and kill you. But it's all randomly generated. One of the first games, if not the first game I recall ever playing that was randomly generated like that. And it has this absolutely brilliant co-op mechanic where you start off, if you're playing co-op, you're both on the same screen, you're walking along, and if you decide to adventure apart, it seamlessly transitions into split screen. And then when you're close enough to come back, it seamlessly transitions back. No loading. It's perfect. It's got the random elements of the presence, which change with every single playthrough. Obviously, the levels are randomized too, but you can play in like a static version. And you're just walking around trying to collect pieces of your spaceship, because you crashed on Earth as aliens, to get back to the planet Funkatron. And the music is fantastic. The enemies are great. The gameplay is so much fun. There's a few different secrets in the game. You can go all the way down to level 0 and dance with the hula with some hula girls and chill out in the hot tub and drink some lemonade and get an extra life. And then Funkatron itself is just, no pun intended, out of this world. It's just like a totally different palette swap. The elevator, like it's just such a classic game. And I'm not sure there's anything wrong with it. It's one of the few games that I personally would consider to be a perfect game. So, Carrot Man, Santa Claus, Mailbox, Toe Jam Monroe. Okay,
All right.
So now we're getting to the fun part of the Classy Classics. We're keeping our third games locked away, potentially not even to be revealed at all, and that's okay. So now we are going to take turns debating each other's nominees. So since Rudy went first, should we, Onix, debate his 2 nominees?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So now Rudy can't say anything. He's got to sit there. The struggle
Just
is
turn
real.
that off.
So it was The Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, and Dark Souls.
Man, talk about 2 honestly really amazing games.
Yep.
You talk about a game's, a greatest of all time, a classic list, and those are going to be there.
Both
They're going to
should
be there.
Absolutely.
100%. And looking at those 2, if I had to pick one personally, right? It'd probably be Dark Souls. Now,
as you are wearing the Link on your shirt.
That's right. Because my heart belongs to another Zelda game that I will not discuss today. But point is, I do love both of those games though. Link to the Past, which I don't have a very heavy connection because I never played Link to the Past I never finished it. I got to the Dark World, maybe they did like the second dungeon, and just didn't finish the game. I've always wanted to go back, but something about the beginning didn't grip me as much as other Zeldas. And I loved Link's Awakening, right? But that's another game that also I got stuck in the last dungeon, never beat it. So I have this like weird not finishing the 2D games, but I've played all the 3Ds. I don't know. But I do love Link to the Past and I can see what it did for the franchise, because a lot of those items, I mean, the Ocarina was introduced in Link to the Past. It's just not the focal point. And then you have Dark Souls. I mean, Dark Souls. After that game, people compared every game to Dark Souls. Like, oh, it's the Dark Souls of this, the Dark Souls of that. And while I hate that, it shows a testament. When Star Wars came out, people were like, wow, this is just like Star Wars, or the next Star Wars. Dark Souls, man. Sean.
Well, I'm kind of like...
There's going to be a fun one for this
Well,
guy.
I know. I'm kind of kicking my my gamer cred here is about to take a shot because I never beat Dark Souls, and I probably only got like maybe 10 hours in, if that. Maybe like 5. I didn't get very far.
You goofed up with Dark Souls.
I just... It was not...
It was too late for you.
It was too clumsy and too slow. Like, the Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, totally in on those, but that first game, I just couldn't get into it. And then if you go watch... You'd have to go do a search, but... Look for our orientation series where I played the first 45 minutes of A Link to the Past for the first time, like a couple years ago, and that's as far as I got. I know the the importance of both of these games,
Oh, yeah.
but without having played either of them to completion, it's kind of a struggle for me to pick one or the other. And you're essentially throwing this on me now that you've taken your stand with Dark Souls. And I'm not gonna lie, because I've only dabbled in both games, the one that I've had more fun with and that was not aggravating me was A Link to the Past.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't want to cause a third game push on this first go round, but
But just to clarify, if the third game comes in, these two are gone.
yeah, they're not getting included in this.
Right. In this
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could come back in the future. We're not saying they're not classy classics. They just wouldn't be classy classics today.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's up to you, man.
I think
Be honest with
I'm
yourself.
gonna be honest with myself. I think I'd have to pick The Legend of Zelda.
You're
Go watch
insane.
that. This was it's so funny you did this. This is not a plug, but go check out that video because I
Yeah.
learned stuff about the music in that game that for years I thought it started with Ocarina of Time, and you'll see my
Koji
genuine
Kondo.
reaction going, "Wait, this is in this game? Are you serious?"
Yeah, Koji Kondo, man. Great Fairies theme, like, so good.
All right, so I'm gonna go with A Link to the Past.
Well then,
so
sir,
Rudy, bust out your
introduce
third
the
game.
actual nominee.
We're gonna be quiet.
My actual nominee, my third game is Super Mario World. By far, one. By far, one of the best platformers ever, dude. Like, I can boot it up to the music. I mean, everything about this game is like amazing. The music, Yoshi being in there, like everything is just so good and so well done. And it's constantly pushing you as a platformer, like continuously. And I mean, I bought that game probably like 3 times. You know, like it's you have to pay homage to that. Like, I'll be honest with you, it was very, very close because my first Mario game was Super Mario Brothers 3, which some people say is the best, but they're wrong. It's Super Mario World. Mario World is by far the best Mario game. 2D, by the way, 2D Mario game. Just saying. So, yeah.
So I think we can come in and talk now, Onix.
Yeah.
Boom, baby. I won anyway because I love Mario World. That is also my favorite 2D friggin' Mario
Not
game.
to put down potential future classics
No.
with other games. But yeah, Super Mario World absolutely deserving.
100%. And like you said, the world, like I've always stuck to that world design. Like, you are going on an adventure. The worlds are all interconnected. Unlike Mario Bros. 3, where it's like, you're done level 1, go to the next one. Get out of here with that nonsense. Anyway, hate on me, internet. Come at me. They gave me a resume on Instagram. But yes, I'm actually... That's... I knew that was going to come from you at one point. I honestly knew Mario World was there. I was there, what's your third one today? Dang. Awesome.
I will say, as much as I love Super Mario 3, it's funny because we've got the NES Classic and the SNES Classic here. My wife will play Super Mario 3. She hates Super Mario World. And my daughter is like, get that crap off my screen. And she wants to play Super Mario World instead of Super Mario 3. So the divide is real. But there is no divide here. Congratulations, Super Mario World. You are our first classic.
Classic, baby. Let's go. Shigeru Miyamoto, man.
Seriously, dude.
So I think Onix went second.
I did.
Which means you and I now get to have a lovely chat about Nier Automata.
And
What was your
Sons
other
of
game?
Liberty,
So,
dude.
yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 2. How do you not?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So, I will be. Should I go first? Or should
You can go first.
Okay. All right. So,
I only beat one of these games.
so you have the collection right there.
I know.
Okay, so Sons of Liberty, amazingness. Like, I played the game, freaking Hideo Kojima. What a troll. Because you start off the spoiler alert, you start off the game as, Snake, and you're on the boat and all this and that, and then all of a sudden Raiden comes out of nowhere. This guy that you don't even know. But you said a lot of valid points, that there was a lot of, I guess, predictions that kind of came into play in the way that society was going, and it's almost kind of eerie in the sense that that was brought up. The gameplay's on point, music's on point. If you enjoyed the previous games, you would obviously enjoy this as well. It felt like a natural extension after Metal Gear Solid, but in comparison, Nier Automata, that goes in a completely different direction. It doesn't look at just society. It looks at existentialism and like where we are, what we do as living, breathing beings. It's some pretty deep stuff and can be depressing at times, but at the end of the day, the gameplay obviously is on point. As a game, both of them are amazing. But the one that left me with the most impact was Nier Automata. Like that's like one that, to me, like I left that, like I dropped the controller, and after like the credits went off, like I was just like, oh my god, like what did I just finish? And it left me just, I don't know.
I should have talked first, because now I have to be the bad guy every time. You're right. I agree with everything you said in regards to Nier Automata. I guess I agree about Metal Gear Solid 2. I played the opening level. I got to the character switch, and then that was it. Not because of that. I played it on the PS3. It was the first time I played that game. I did beat Nier Automata, and I agree. Nier Automata, it changed how stories can be told in games, and I want to see a lot more of that going forward. My struggle right here is how new that game is. I like this about not being able to say anything.
I know. Can I say something though?
Yeah, go for it.
Nier, like, as much as I love Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Nier Automata did something that no other medium can do. You can make a Metal Gear Solid movie and include the story, and it'll be cool. It'll be nice to look at. But Nier Automata did things that you can't do in anything else. Like, that is a game that can do things that only games can do, if that makes sense.
No, it does. But doesn't Ghost or whatever his name is, or Ninja whatever, doesn't he like read your memory card? Or is that in the first game and not the second game for Metal Gear Solid?
That's Metal Gear Solid 1.
I know he does it in the first one.
He does it in the first one. He does that in the GameCube.
You can't do that in movies either. There's a level of interactivity there. I'm just saying. I'm being fair.
Touché.
So, I mean, I'm thinking of everybody on the other side of the camera right now that's like, well, if you guys don't pick Metal Gear Solid 2, I'm turning this crap off. But again, I struggle because I barely played it, and my credibility as a gamer is getting blown up right now. In my mind, I said whatever Rudy picks, it's got to be it, because I can't make a choice. So I'm gonna go with Nier Automata as well. That game was fantastic, and now Onix can
start breathing.
Man, I swear to God, if you had said Metal Gear just because it was the older title, I would have unsubscribed from our channel. Like, no, I don't care. Anybody come at me like a game. Yes, if a game came out yesterday and I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest game of all time, yeah, I would be like, all right, calm down, calm your horses. Let's actually let this sit and let's think about it. But we've had time to think about it.
We're still talking about this, man.
We are.
We should have been done talking about this. Like,
potential game of the generation.
Exactly.
By far.
And I can't get over it. So I'm really happy that you guys did go with Nier. As much as I love Metal Gear Solid 2, I could say that's my favorite game of all time, MGS2. But Nier Automata, it did something that no other game has tried to do before.
Yeah. Erasing
your save file at the end.
I did that.
Like, what a Yoko Taro. My man. All right, I'm done.
All right, congratulations, Nier Automata, our second classic.
Next is Super Mario World. What? Let's go. Let's go.
Now I hand it over to you, fellas.
Oh man, so this is where my game
is gonna suck. It's gonna
totally
be so bad.
Holy
Magoli.
So I never owned a Sega Genesis. 1, 2. when I got a NES, it was I think like 2 years before the SNES. So I never actually like I said, Super Mario Brothers 3 was the first game that I ever got. To give you an idea, I don't know where in the timeline Final Fantasy came out, but my
87, I think it was.
Yeah,
87.
87. Okay, so the first Final Fantasy that I ever played was Final Fantasy 8. The second one was 9, then 4, and then 10, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I understand the story behind Final Fantasy, not just within the game, but also outside of the game and what was happening on with at the time Squaresoft.
Not even Squaresoft, literally just Square.
Oh, it was just Square at the time.
Squaresoft was with EA.
These are things that I don't even know. So, but no, I do understand that like that was like their last hurrah.
They had made like a game or two before, and they were just they didn't sell well. I think they made some arcade ports, and they weren't well either. This was like if we fail this, we're done. So Final Fantasy, that's it. Sakaguchi was like, I got to give it my all. He hooked up with his buddy Uematsu. The rest is history.
Freaking soundtrack, man.
Yeah. And I 100% agree with you. Final Fantasy does have the credentials. Final Fantasy does have that. I mean, it's freaking Final Fantasy. We're on the 15th iteration, and we know a 16th is going to come.
It's inevitable.
Like, this is... I don't know if it's the longest-running franchise. I don't think it is. But I think Mario is actually the one with the most titles in his franchise. But either way, yeah, it's Final Fantasy.
It's up
man.
there. It's up there. Toe Jam and Earl, I never played it.
I played it with Sean for like 10 minutes at his house one time.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he played that. I don't know if it was on an Xbox 360 or something. I have no idea.
Nah.
But all I know is that it does have a legacy. It is very 90s. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That game is it is the epitome of a 90s like video game. It's rad. It's cool. It's funky. You know? I love that. And I did want to say earlier, there is another game that really touched on a 90s funk too, and I think you would have enjoyed it based on the Jet Set Radio. Those games, I don't know if you ever played those, but they're very funky too. Totally different gameplay.
Yeah.
But they remind me of that vibe, that style of game, you know? Anyway, Toe Jam and Earl, I can totally see that being a classic for sure.
Yeah, I could.
But I know.
To me, Final Fantasy. That's my vote. I mean,
and to be fair, Final Fantasy is also my vote. I've played that game no more than 10 minutes because that game has not aged well at all.
No,
however,
of course not.
It's the first Final Fantasy. This is an actual it's just historical.
It's historical. You have to pay respect to it.
So in this case, because of my lack of interactivity with both of these titles, I'd say Final Fantasy.
Okay, so you haven't played that much either.
No,
Okay.
Final Fantasy 1,
Okay.
I played like 10, 20 minutes. And Toe Jam and Earl, again, 10 minutes at his place. So unless you want to find out what his secret third game is and have that indicted. It's always the fun of the game. But nah, Final vote, Final Fantasy.
Final vote, Final Fantasy. Final vote. So Jam and Earl.
No.
I want to see what his third pick is. I'll be honest, because I'm just like, Final Fantasy is great, and I respect that, and chances are it'll probably come back. Toe Jam and Earl. I have no connection to it, but I do want to see what else you have.
Wow.
Don't tell me it's tactics, because if it's tactics, GTFO.
So it's a split vote.
It's a split vote.
Wow, I thought Final Fantasy was making it in.
I thought so too.
No, oh my god!
I just want to see a third vote.
Okay,
but I get where he's coming from because he's like, I don't have a connection.
I don't have a connection to either of them, and like I understand where Toe Jam and Earl is. You know, it was
between those two
gem,
Final Fantasy
gem of its time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Final Fantasy is.
I'm actually shocked.
So what's your third?
Well, jeez.
What's
your
third?
I was sitting here thinking, man, I'm kind of excited for this because I'm going to build this one up over time. This third secret game, I was just going to keep putting it there until the day it popped out.
Not anymore.
And it's popping out right now. Boys, the greatest game of all time, Final Fantasy Tactics. Oh my god. Congratulations. Screw this classics. We're done. This is the best game ever made.
My god.
And it is not the best game ever made, but it is the best game ever made. Final Fantasy Tactics. Man, I'm like spitting all over the microphone.
I will say this.
No, I gotta talk about it. I
Okay,
get to monologue here.
finish.
I'm monologuing about this game. I've wanted to do this for a long time.
All right.
Oh my god.
I'll be right back, guys.
This will be 5 minutes. Kind of.
Kind of.
Ooh,
wake
I'm
up tomorrow
shaking.
and he's
I'm
still talking.
so excited this game made it in. You have no idea. So Final Fantasy Tactics, okay. I've played a lot of games since I was like 4 and I got my first NES. I was 97, like 13 when I played Tactics, 14, whatever, when it came out, 98, and changed my life. The story, the gameplay, the music, the visuals, the whole kit and caboodle. Freaking don't blame me, blame yourself or God. I'm not talking about War of the Lions here, folks. I'm talking about the original, terrible translation and all version of Final Fantasy Tactics. It was Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. I know Game of Thrones was probably a book before
93.
Final Fantasy Tactics, but Game of Thrones before people cared about Game of Thrones in video game format. It's got the classic warring factions, betrayal. You've got dragons. You've got robots. You've got your typical Final Fantasy characters, chocobos. Yeah, right here. Look at this. Right here. The class system in this game was kind of wonky, and you could overpower easily with a monk who used accumulate and had the double punch. But it was so much fun. There was so much customization. There were so many secrets in this game. Cloud is officially in a game that is in our Classy Classics because Cloud is in this game. And it's not about Cloud. It's about the story. I'm not going to spoil any of this. I can't even talk right now. I'm actually I was not prepared for this. I was not prepared for Tactics to make it in so soon. But the game was just brilliant. I would love for there to be a true sequel to that game, even with different characters, but still in that same War of the Lions world. Not the advanced versions, not 12, but the original Tactics. It was just so good. And I am very grateful to be able to induct it into our Classy Classics.
Congratulations. Final Fantasy Tactics. You made it, baby.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I thought that was your first pick. Like from the get-go, I was like, Tactics is gonna be somewhere
I
in
would
this.
have seen it coming, but I see what he was doing. He was
Yeah.
trying to hold on
He
to the
was
bag.
playing.
Well, and I didn't want you guys to have to force a pick because you know about my passion for that game, and I didn't want to throw that against some other
I
poor
think
game.
they know about your.
Well, they do now if they didn't before.
Yeah. But it's a good. I think honestly, I'm very happy with our first 3.
Super Mario.
All 3 games. You got an early game in, generally speaking, an early
1991.
game
1991.
in the annals of game history.
Literally 4 years old.
You got one
87.
from the late 90s, and then you've got one from
2 years ago.
a couple years ago. We got a pretty
Big
big
spectrum.
spread there.
Big spectrum. Literally 16 years. Because Mario World came out in 91 with the SNES.
Yep.
Launch title.
Yep.
Boxed in.
So good.
So I'm really happy with this. I think this was a success. Can't wait to see those bad boys on our wall.
Congratulations, Super Mario World, Nier Automata, Final Fantasy Tactics, our first Classy Classics.
Classy Classics, baby.
And those other games, congratulations. Those other games. Congratulations on your nominations. They will come back.
Oh, they will
I'm
come
sure
back.
they will come back over
They will
time.
come back.
We probably need to enact some rules so we don't just keep bringing the same games back every
No.
time. So we'll figure that out as we go along.
Yeah.
We haven't thought about that part yet. But let us know in the comments what you want to see in the Classy Classics. And maybe someday those games will get in as well. For now, this is our first go. And I think we're going to probably do this on a routine basis. This isn't a once-a-year thing.
No.
Maybe a few times a year. We'll figure out the thing. So be on the lookout for the next episode. But
Classy Classics, man.
until then,
Yeah.
stay classy.
Oh, my God. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Follow us on Instagram.
At The Gaming Resume.
Onyx runs it
Sometimes. All the time.
most of the time.
I'm tired. Like our pictures.
Have coffee.
Hey. It's a me, Mario. Okay, bye, guys.
Like what you saw? Check out some of our other videos and be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest content. Thanks for your support and thanks for watching.